Potheads, sippers, and sherbert dippers, welcome to this episode of the Tea With Me podcast with me, Shane Todd. Let me just I think we're good. Let me do a sound check as Paul. Oh, I gotta sing for a bit at a bit for my head. So much more than I needed before I got to bed in the meter. Yeah, I think we're good to go. What a time to be alive. This first solo episode I've done since Pussy was a kitten. You know, there hasn't been a solo episode in a long time. But we're back. 3 people said, man, you gotta get those solo episodes back, so we've done it. I've got a big mug of tea. And I'm gonna drink it. Have tea, will drink. What's been going on? Is it okay out there? Is it fine? Is it alright? I'm not too sure, but what I do know is Tripadvisor's back. The Tripadvisor feature is back. One of you asked for it, and I have delivered. Like a consistent postman, I have delivered. See, if I was a postman, there is not a mission I would get through a day without 75 complaints more. Because my, what would you say? My illusion of being a postman is a bit like, in movies when you see in America kids that deliver newspapers just from the bicycle. That's the only way I would be a postman, is if I could do that, just throw it in people's gardens from a wee bike. But fair fuck's a postman. Postmen literally like go in, and yeah, post women too, but I would still say this is horrendous, right? And we'll get 7,000 Ofcom complaints for this, even though this is a podcast, so you can't complain to Ofcom. I would still call a female postal worker a postman. And I don't know if that's wrong. I don't know if I have to go to jail for that, but I'm just saying, I would still say, oh, she's a postman. And and that's either very sexist or actually the complete opposite. Because I'm taking the postman title away from just men. So I don't know which it is. It's either really good or really bad. But yeah, I just don't think I would have the skill, the IQ to be a postman, because you gotta really multitask to be to be a pulse man. You've got to be able to multitask. You've got to be able to check the pulse of multiple people at once and just make an educated guess. A pulse man. I have a resting pulse of 45, isn't that weird? And I said this on the podcast before, and this isn't the start of the episode, right? But we said it on the podcast before. I got like a health check done at Randox in Hollywood here, right? And I know I've started this. I started multiple tangents, but sometimes in photos I get worried that I have a lazy eye, right? And I'm looking at myself back on the video that we're recording. If you don't watch a video version of this, it's on YouTube. And I'm convinced I have a lazy eye, but I think it's because, or it's getting worse, but I think it's because I'm looking at the camera and then I'm looking at my face, and when I go between the two, I think one eye's taking a bit longer to catch up. So maybe I do have a lazy eye, maybe I just have a slightly slower eye compared to the other one that's fast. Anyway, what the fuck am I talking about? My point is, I don't think I'm smart enough to be a postman or postwoman or postal worker or a pulse man, because it would take to, I don't know. They obviously have a system where they can deliver mail efficiently, and I just don't know. I wouldn't be able to do it. Same with being like an Amazon guy. Unless someone's front gate is open and you walk up to it, bang the door and hand them the thing. If it's anything different than that, I can't do it. If they're like, oh, you have to go to this mailbox and check this, or you got to leave it round the side, I will always just get stuff in the wrong order. And that is why comedy has to work. That's why comedy has to work. A few people in the last few weeks have been saying, what's a crack with gigs? Is he one of Man United's best ever players? No, people have been saying, what's a crack with stand-up? Is this show going to go ahead? Is that show going to go ahead? We're no closer to knowing what the deal is, but hold on, by the way, it's me unzipping my hoodie just in case anybody listening thought we were getting really sexy up in here. No, Yeah, I don't know what's happening with gigs, but what I do know is I'm kind of hopeful that. Do you know what? I'm very optimistic at the minute. The weather feels kind of like it's all right. Like it's got a wee bit warmer. I mean, you can wear a t-shirt after 3 p.m. Not after 5, right? Because you literally catch your death, get hypothermia, and die. But what I'm saying is, we're getting into the good weather. I think there's going to be, in the run up to the summer here, and in the summer, I think we're going to have some outdoor shows, which is great. I've been working on an outdoor tour schedule, and we're going to do a load of outdoor dates. We'll do stand up. We'll bring some friends along, and we'll do like beer gardens, and we'll do fields, and we'll do whatever. And what I really want to do is do it in kind of like out of the way places. You know what I mean? Like I'll do stand up in a barn. I'll do stand up in if you're like a rich chat, like the Sultan of Brunei's son or daughter, and you got an unbelievable tree house. We can do a show in it. I really do want to go to like islands and places that are just out of the way and just go and do stand up outside. And I had a crazy idea. I don't know if I've mentioned it on a podcast before, but about doing a podcast at the top of Sleeved Honored, or not a podcast. Well, yeah, maybe. Doing some stand up at the top of Sleeved Honored, but doing a podcast up at the top of Sleeved Honored. Hold on, there's somebody in my garden. I thought I was going to get murdered there. Yeah, doing a podcast at the top of Sleeved Honored would be pretty class too. And I would just give out what time I was going to be there, and then people can just bring blankets and come and sit. You know, come and sit round the podcast, and I don't know what we'll do. I don't know if that's even possible. All I know is I'm not prepared to carry that much equipment, but hopefully Dan would be. I could see producer Dan being a little bit of a mountain goat. You know, I could see him getting up and down pretty easy. I don't really see him getting tired. I think he's a guy that would have like a good bit of stamina about him. Shit internet at the minute. If you've been listening to the Breakfast Brewery episodes, you'll know that Dan has moved to Lisburn, and it's the vortex of broadband apparently, and he can't get online. He's going through a really bad time with that. Like, he can't get broadband, and it's really like if you saw him this morning on the Breakfast Brew episode, his hair embodies the problems he's having with his broadband. Not good. We do Breakfast Brew not every morning. Basically, we have a Patreon, right? Which is Patreon's a website where loads of podcasts use it, thousands, hundreds, where you get extra content. You sign up with ours. You sort of pay whatever you want, but if you pay £3 a month or more or whatever you want, you get bonus episodes. You essentially, with this, you get a podcast Monday to Friday. What we do is a feature-length bonus episode on Monday just for people on Patreon. Sometimes with a guest, sometimes just me, usually with a guest. Then Tuesday morning, we do a morning episode of the podcast, a little half-hour episode. We got this on Wednesday. We do the same on Thursday. We do the Breakfast Brew. And then on Friday, we do a live Breakfast Brew, which we've been doing for months. And we're gonna start to do a streamed Friday, probably a Friday afternoon podcast. And that'll probably just be for Patreon. So patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. It's in the description if you want to join it. And part of the reason I don't really plug the Patreon like too hard, like not really, like I do a bit, but not too hard, is because I want to wait until we are able to put out content that looks and sounds as good as we want it to. And because I've been doing it from home, we haven't been able to get into the studio because the studio, you can't open the windows basically in our studio, and it's like quite small. So I don't think it'd be responsible to like be working there with other people, bringing guests in. So we have finally, I think, fingers crossed, been able to get a new studio, and we could be in there next week. We're still sort of sorting it out, so fuck me if this all blows up in my face and then I'm like, no, that didn't work. But I think we've got somewhere sorted in Hollywood, which is just where we want to be, where I want to be. You know, Hollywood, literally the pavements are so clean you could eat your dinner off it, and there's free Wi-Fi, and me, Rory McIlroy, and Jimmy Durner from there, so it's a good place to be. And we want to stay in Hollywood basically. So I think we've got a studio sorted. Do you know what's funny, right? People are so sound, right? Just in general, people are so sound and so helpful. And I put out like a tweet thing on Instagram as well and on Facebook saying we're looking for a new studio for the podcast. If anybody knows anywhere, Hollywood, but also consider Belfast, get in touch. And then this guy got in touch. He's obviously just so sound to like go out of his way to send me a message about this. And he's like, yeah, my dad like co-owns very, very north down, obviously. He's like, my father owns some business property. And the guy goes, we've just had somebody move out. He goes, I think my dad was telling me someone's moving out, like you could rent there. And I like the location of where he was saying, so I said, mate, that sounds great, like, do you have any more info on it? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I'll get your email and I'll try and arrange for you to go down and look at it. Like, again, really good. Like, I don't think he lives here anymore, going so out of his way just to try and get me sorted, just because he's fucking dead on. And then then he sent me the square footage of it, and we're looking for, I think, what did we say, like 500-600 square foot or something, like big enough where we can be spaced out if we need to be, have guests in, you know, have a desk for Mike and Dan, and be able to really have like a little studio. And then we want some offices as well, and so say we want like 600 square foot. The guy's like, man, I actually don't know. And then he came back to me, he goes, yeah, I think it's about 4,000 square feet. And I was like, mate, that is a vast warehouse. You know what I mean? Like, that's an indoor football pitch. And we were laughing about it, and the guy's like, yeah, it's probably far too big for what you want. And then he told me what the what the rent was, and I was like, you know what? It's a little bit out of our budget. I mean, our monthly budget is what it is. This place was going to be 30 grand, and I was like, that's probably 29.5 grand outside of our budget. You know, it's a bit like in, what is that show? A Place in the Sun, where they show you property, where you go, you know, some family from Barnsley. They're always from like place in England you've never been to, but some family from Barnsley go on A Place in the Sun, and they go, yeah, we just want a better quality of life. And there's always one kid that's fucking hard. Like, there's always one kid that's so gutted because the family want to move because nothing's really popping off for them where they live. But then one of their kids is always like, no, I'm really popular. It's good. I'd love to stay and live here. I actually have friends. And the dad's like, well, I don't. So we're moving, mate. And then they go to Australia and they get shown 3 properties. And the person hosting it goes, okay, here's this one. It's well within your budget. You know, you could definitely live here. And it's a shithole. And then the second one they show them, they go, this is bang on your budget, and it's a bit nicer, but, you know, they're still not blown away by it. And then the person always goes, come and see this one. And they look around it and they're like, this is all we've ever wanted in a house. And they start crying. They're like, this is great. And the presenter goes, you know, your budget was 300,000. And they go, they're like, you're not going to believe it, but this place is only 780,000. And the family are like, why would you do this to us? The kids are crying. That's that show in a nutshell. And by the way, they never move. They never move, do they, on that show? They just want to get to Australia for a holiday. They're like, we're definitely going here. Which is like, whenever my dad goes, I think it was about 10 years ago, my dad goes, do you fancy Tenerife? I mean, my dad would have gone to Tenerife most years, so I went, yeah, sounds good. My dad goes, right, here's the thing. Now, you never want your dad to start a sentence with, right, you know, if he starts a sentence with, right, here's the thing, things aren't going to be strictly legal. Right, he goes, we're going to look at a timeshare thing, like to show you around this house, and then you've got to go to like a business meeting. And he goes, and I was like, why are you buying a house in Tenerife? And he goes, no, of course I'm not, but that they will fly you out there and put you up just to come and see these houses. So I went, right, got there. My dad was like on the second day or whatever, he goes, right, we've got to go and look at this house. I was like, no, I'm not going to see any house. And he goes, no, this is why we're here. He's like, please, like, come and just see this house. I went, how long is it going to be? He goes, I don't know. I think we'll be back here in about 6 or 7 hours. I went, right, I'm going to catch some rays. You enjoy yourself. And then my dad had to just be shown around the house he was never going to buy and go to a business meeting. And then I can't remember why he said he didn't want to buy a house, but it was some mad excuse. You know, my dad was like, I would, but then here's the thing, I can't because I've just this morning found out that I've been scammed. You know, and the people were like, well, we could contact the police for you. He's like, no, please don't. It's all fine. You know, I remember thinking, though, I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to come back and he's going, but Alex, I just bought one. You know, he's like, I just bought a £7 million Tenerife villa. But yeah, and that's on that show, nobody ever moved away in a place in the sun. They always go, yeah, we thought about it, and then the voiceover goes, 3 months later, Chris, Kirsty and the kids were back in Bolton. One of the kids buzzing the other kids like, oh, I could have made some mates in Australia. Anyway, got a lot to talk about and get through. Before we do, and before we jump into TripAdvisor, let me plug our sponsor. Our sponsor is, of course, Manscaped. If you don't know what Manscaped is or what they do, let's just say they are the number one in below the belt men's grooming. And what do I mean when I say men's grooming? I'm not talking about a shave, like a nice facial shave. Well, the Manscaped cover everything, but what they really do is below the belt grooming. Okay, we're talking about the pubis bone and the hair that surrounds it. We're talking about genitalia things. And if you had said to me a couple of years ago, not only will this company exist where they have ball trimmers, they have ball cleanser, ball deodorant, ball wipes, and they have this package called the Lawnmower 3.0, this product called the Lawnmower 3.0, which is a shaver for your balls that has an LED light in case you want to do it in the dark. If you work down a mine, if you're one of those guys from Chile or whatever. Not only do they have that, but they would sponsor my podcast. I would call you a fucking liar and a weirdo. But it exists. The Lawnmower 3.0. I use it. Producer Dan uses it. Big Mike uses it. Big Mike also uses the Weed Whacker, which is for your... the Weed Whacker sounds like a guy who goes around beating up hippies. But it's not. It's a trimmer for your ears and nose hair. Big Mike uses it. I don't need to because I'm not 87. But a lot of guys are getting that ear and nose hair, and it's not sweet, so sort it out. Just go on Manscaped, see what they do. The Lawnmower 3.0 is class. They've got a travel kit as well, so if you travel for work or you're just stuck for a present to get for some sort of man, go to manscaped.com, use the code teawithme for 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped.com. Take care of your family jewels. Let me take a sip of tea on that note. The old tea, you know what I mean? Like, we've been in lockdown for a year. Sometimes you get into things like banana bread and then you don't get into it. Or, you get into some sort of exercise or some sort of hobby. But see, tea, closer than ever. Because you pick up and drop these hobbies like banana bread. Well, I actually stopped because I think whatever was in it was bad for my wee tummy. It was making me go to the toilet. And also, I don't have banana bread anymore, but it was unreal. But tea and me have never been closer. See, in the new studio, here's what I want to do. I want to get a class backdrop. We're going to get, obviously, chairs, desks, all that. We're going to get maybe some nice plants, a backdrop. My friend Tony's going to do some art for us. It's going to look 10 out of 10 if we can get this sorted. And I'm so excited about it. And everything just steps up a notch because... fair play to you guys for watching and listening, downloading the episodes, all that. I love that. But we've been doing it from the house, so this is only what's the best analogy here? What this is is I'm like a dancer who dances in a chair. I'm sitting in a chair. Not a wheelchair. I'm sitting in a chair, just a regular chair, but I'm dancing and I'm in a nightclub. And you're watching me and you're going, I like what you're doing there. You've got moves. So yeah, I'm going to give you money. I'm going to give you money to I like your dancing. What I'm saying is, if you think this dancing's good, wait until I'm on my feet. AKA, wait till we're in a studio. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. I was also going to talk about Line of Duty, but I ain't seen it. I haven't seen it because we just watched Your Honor with Bryan Cranston. Not with Bryan Cranston. That would be so sweet, wouldn't it? That'd be class. Just watching Your Honor starring Bryan Cranston, but with Bryan Cranston. Because, if you missed a bit or you weren't sure on something, Bryan also directed it. So he could talk you through it. And then you go, Bryan, was it class being in Breaking Bad and all, bro? And he's like, yeah, 100%. And I sent Bryan Cranston an Instagram message last night after the show, after I finished the finale, Your Honor. I said, Bryan, come on the podcast and we'll talk about your Irish roots because I think he's from County Armagh. And Bryan Cranston has not yet got back to me and I don't think that's going to change. But Bryan, if you're watching, man, get in touch. If anyone knows Bryan, get him onto the podcast. That worked. Terry George. I want to get Terry George in the podcast. You might remember directed Hotel Rwanda, In the Name of the Father, The Boxer, Oscar winner. I put it out on Twitter. I was like, does anyone know him? Can I get him on? And then someone came through. Some saint came through. Some legend came through. Tried that with Liam Neeson. That hasn't worked. So I'm not going to try it with Bryan Cranston until I get Liam Neeson. But yeah, we'll talk about Line of Duty next week. Because I haven't seen it, but I'm going to watch it tonight. We'll catch some bent coppers. I haven't even seen the reaction from it, but it's so good. And Adrian Dunbar is so good, and he's someone I'm going to try and get in the podcast as well. Yeah. Let's do TripAdvisor, will we? It's been a long time. I've got some other stuff to talk about, but let's just get to the meat. Because people used to love this. What we do with this segment is we go on TripAdvisor, we look at some local businesses, not like, we don't really do like family owned stuff, you know what I mean? Because we look at bad reviews. So we don't want to like lose anybody's business. That's not what it's about. It's about celebrating the fact that some complete lunatics leave reviews full stop of businesses, but leave really bad ones. So we're having a laugh at that as opposed to the business. I should point that out. Basically the reason I'm doing that is just in case Applegreen want to give me some corporate video work at some point. In which case I would love to do that, and I've always been a big fan of your fantastic top of the range facilities, including Costa, Burger King, and the Bakewell. I'm just saying the Bakewell. I couldn't remember what it was called, but I can see it in the TripAdvisor page that I brought up here. Applegreen's one of those places where on the way to Dublin Airport you go into it, and like if you were a kid you'd be buzzing. You just think it's a garage, and then you go, oh, there's a Burger King. And they also sell like the weirdest compilation rack of CDs. Be like Irish Country Heroes, The Wolf Tones, and Malachi Kush, Motown. That's so niche, right? That's such a niche reference that Malachi Kush would have a Motown album, and I hope he does, but I also hope 3 or 4 people enjoy that imagery. Shout out to my boy Malachi Kush. I think we could get him on the podcast. I think it would be achievable. So yeah, what we do is we look at some of the worst reviews, but before we do that, why don't we look at some of the best reviews for the Applegreen in Dublin? Because it's as funny to me that people would be buzzing about it and also like hate it, but some people just fucking pop off for the Dublin Applegreen. Imagine like having such a great experience at a service station, which your dad would know all about, by the way, that you get home, or maybe not even, like a lot of the, like this site tells you if you did it via mobile or not, and I'd say the people that did it via mobile just in their car at the time. This guy, Lorraine Mitchell headlines hers, Bakewell, that's the topic. Visited here heading to Dublin for the day, had a super breakfast in Bakewell, very clean staff, very friendly, helpful, defo recommend this is the place to start your day. I mean, in bed is a place to start your day, and also it's weird to say clean staff. Lorraine's like, yeah, I smelt the armpits of every member of the Bakewell staff, and it was, if anything, refreshing. Clean staff. Imagine me ringing a restaurant. Hey, yeah, coming down for a meal with my wife on Friday night here. What do your staff smell like? Lemongrass. Great, I'll see you at 7. Sean F. writes motorway services, so he's just letting you know what he's talking about here. Good, well-run service station, good parking. He means to say very good restaurant facility. He says weary good restaurant facilities, which makes it sound like he's knackered reading this out. Overall service very good. Toilet facilities are clean, well maintained. Facilities are disabled friendly. But glowing review. Great coffee served by a great lady. I mean, I love that. Very grateful that she served us a coffee even when the machine was off and cleaned. Not all heroes wear capes. Can I have a coffee, please? Well, the machine's off. Oh, okay, thanks anyway. Wait, don't you fucking go anywhere. I'm going to make this bareback. Instant. Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't give somewhere a good review if I went to a coffee shop and I was like, can I have a coffee? And you go, nah, machine's off. I'll do you 2 spoonfuls of Nescafe here. People loving chopsticks as well. Love to see that. Right, now let's delve into what we're here for, which is the terrible reviews. So I'd say that the excellent, very good and average reviews outweigh the bad ones. So that tells you we're dealing with a good service station here. And people are giving off about the toilets being dirty. Now, I'll say this. I'm a very, what would you say, like, not clean guy, because like I think we're all clean, but like I like good hygiene. I like places to look nice, smell nice, all that kind of thing. I like a bit of premium luxury. That's what I like. So when I go into toilets, yes, I also hate it if like the place doesn't smell good, it's dirty and all that. Like nobody likes that. But in a way, I'm not surprised because we are also at toilets that are open to the public. And I don't know why people criticize staff for this, because it's like they can't just stand there the whole time and clean as they go. So it's not the problem of the venue, it's the fault of some dirty bastards. Cummins says, don't know if it's Dominic or... Stopped off this morning to get a coffee and use the toilet facilities at the Applegreen service station on the M7 at Bird Hill, Limerick. Now, he says he stopped off for a coffee and used the toilet. I think he just needs to stop to use the toilet. The toilets were filthy and disgusting, as you can see in the photos. These facilities should be cleaned more often. You would think, even with the pandemic we're in. Now, Cummins, I get your point, right? And the toilets don't look good. And there's a wee bit of shit on the seat there. Okay, and I don't even know how it's possible. But what I will say is, they're toilets. You know, and it's like that old, like my granny used to say, don't go to toilets if you don't want to see a wee bit of shit. She never said that, but you know what I mean? And who are these, like you're even weirder taking photos of it. Alfred says, I complained 4 weeks ago about the 24-hour toilet at Lisburn eastbound services. Visit again today. Nothing's been done about it. I mean, if it is the same mess, then that is bad. No toilet seat. Lock on the door is busted. I mean, sometimes that makes it more fun. You know, when you're going to the toilet and you have to hold the door. Never any soap in the dispenser or any hand sanitizer. I would have thought this would have been a number 1 priority. If that's a pun, yes, I love it. Can't understand why they put a change on using these toilets so I could get... I don't know. Stop taking photos like we get it. IXJCX says Burger King is terrible in capitals. Last time I'm eating a Burger King, I ordered a bacon double cheeseburger. Worst burger I've ever had in capitals. The bacon looked boiled, stringy, not crispy at all. They slapped on the cheese last minute, still cold, FFS, which means for fuck's sake. Don't even get me started in the Oreo milkshake. Was hoping KFC crush 'em standard and satisfying my needs, but nah, it was the deadliest thing ever. The milkshake was unsuckable, barely any Oreo bits in it. Should have bought an Oreo packet and a carton of milk instead. My local chippy does a better job. Expected better from a well-known global fast food chain. Never again. JC, you're weird. You're a weird guy. Like, Burger King is what Burger King is. It's fast food. What are you... Okay, the bacon in the burger wasn't crispy. It's Burger King. It's fast food. They slapped in the cheese at the last minute. I'd have been better getting a packet of Oreos and a carton of milk. Yeah, that does sound better. That sounds class. The milkshake was unsuckable. Imagine just being an adult and then, like, say you're married and your wife said, can you help me in with the shopping? You go, I can't. Why? I've got to go write something here. What are you writing? I've got to go and write that the milkshake was unsuckable just to let people know. Unsuckable. That's what we're calling this episode. And I hope I don't type that in, because I'm typing that into Google just so it's open in another tab. And I hope it doesn't bring me up just really bad cocks. Unsuckable. Unsuckable. Funny. Showers were unfit for humans, were unfit for dogs, let alone humans. Wouldn't be tolerated anywhere in Europe. No ventilation, bad drainage, something would need to be done about this. Okay, if it's for work, like if it's a necessity, I get it, but don't shower at a service station. Don't shower at a service station unless you, like, if you're a lorry driver long haul doing all that, like 100%, I get it. That's literally what you have to do. But like, don't just be calling in for a coffee and a shower. I'm going to the service station here to buy a Ronan Keating acoustic album where he covers the best ballads of Elvis Presley. I'm going to get a Costa made instant. I'm going to get a Burger King with boiled bacon, and then I'm just going to nip in for a shower. Terrible breakfast. Staff arguing with each other while there was a busy line of food. The food was cold and probably reused. Well, probably wasn't. Okay, this is a great heading. Let the gentle waft of stale urine complement the dirty tables, lackluster service and questionable food. This person is from Kent, and they seem like a bit of a Kent. I had the pleasure, in inverted commas, passive aggressive, of stopping at these services recently, and things have not improved. Firstly, word of advice: if you must eat there, do so before using the toilets. The place is continually dirty. Food dried into a crust adorned the tabletops on most tables, along with congealing fat found inside various fast food containers. Yeah, that's gross. Applegreen know they have a captive audience who don't bother with things like cleanliness. Well, they do. Avoid. Okay, right, here's one that is like a moral dilemma thing, and let's see where you land on this. Prime One Only, strange name, says 1 star. I recently visited Applegreen to fuel my motorbike, although they put an R instead of an E. I recently visited Applegreen to fuel my motorbiker. However, my payment had been declined, so I offered to return within an hour to pay. Now, while that is the right thing to do and probably an easy mistake to make, there is like a policy on this at the garage, and also it's not like a local garage where they just get to know you and you're like, listen, sorry, you know me, I'm in here every week, unless it's me, in which case I go, you know me, BBC's Rave Lockdown, and they go, we don't, we've never seen it, we listen to Cool FM. You know, the Applegreen is different. You know what I mean? It's not like in the middle of a town. The chances you're coming back are remote. It's not easy to get to. The manager of the site asked me to leave my motorbike as collateral. I mean, I don't know how much the fuel was, but like, that's not collateral. You know what I mean? Listen, I have 40 euro of petrol here. Right, will you may leave the bike in case you don't come back. When I refused, they demand that I leave my mobile phone. Okay, that's more of a fair kind of trade. He goes, obviously this is a ridiculous measure, so I complained to the head office of Applegreen. I received a correspondence from Mark Townsend, a director of the company, who simply offered me £10 as a goodwill gesture. There was no sincere apology from Applegreen. Terrible company. You're in the wrong. You're in the wrong, Prime One Only. I am Prime One Only. Prime One Only. Destroy Applegreen. You're in the wrong because, yeah, they shouldn't have asked you to leave your motorbike, because you would have needed to go and get something like another card or some sort of payment. But to leave your mobile phone, yeah, leave something. You're not, unless they know, you're not known as, Prime One Only isn't universally known as the most trustworthy person on planet Earth. It'd be different if Davey Attenborough walked in to fuel up his Rover car and he went, I'm sorry, I've forgotten. My God. Was that a good Attenborough? Part of me thinks it was like quite good. You know, you'd go, Davey, don't worry about it, mate. Go home and get your card. And he comes home and goes, I returned home to get my card. It wasn't good second time. Second time, it wasn't good. My impression of David Attenborough. It was good first time, right? But what I'm saying is, they don't know you from Adam. They don't know you from Adam. So to say leave your mobile phone there is probably fucking fair. What's the deal? It's not like an infringement of your human rights. Leave something of that makes so much sense. You have taken, without meaning to, something of value. So give us something of equivalent value until you pay us the real price. It makes total sense. Imagine writing a letter to the head office of Applegreen. I deleted my mobile phone because I fucking ballsed up and made a mistake. Mark Townsend straight back. Mark goes, no worries, mate. Here's a tenner. Who doesn't love, like, tenner's a cheeky amount of money to get. Here, we take that wee tenner. Mark Townsend sounds like a legend giving you a tenner. Twat. You're not Mark Townsend. I like Mark Townsend. Will we maybe do one more? No, do you know what? I'll tell you a story about Applegreen and petrol. I was flying to LA. I was flying to LA back in times where you were allowed to travel and go to places that weren't just your house. And I stopped on the way down to... I was driving my grey Passat at the time, which people just got to know. It starred in many videos with me. But my car was kind of like falling apart a wee tiny bit. Like it wasn't in the best of shape. I'm someone who... I'll just drive cars until you just can't drive them anymore, and then I'll just like not want to spend that money. I'm not a car guy. Is the car like, does the heat in it work? Is the seat comfy? Then okay, I'll drive it. So I was driving down Dublin Airport. I stopped at the Dundalk Applegreen, and I don't leave, like I'm a hard man, right? So I don't really leave it. I don't leave a lot of time to be in the airport. I like to get there, get a magazine, 30. I had to get there, get a porn mag, and imagine you were standing beside me waiting to board a plane, and I had a magazine tucked under my arm and a Starbucks, and you were just making small talk with me, being like, oh, listen to the podcast, and I had just a full explicit porn mag under my arm and just never addressed it, and you addressed it and you were like, oh, got some reading material there, and I just went, yeah, yep. No, I buy 442, the football magazine. I like to get myself... I sound like a child. I sound like a child businessman here. I buy 442 football magazine. I might buy some crisps, even though I'm not a big crisp guy. I'll buy some crisps. I'll go to Starbucks. I'll get a cup of tea, and I will also say, "Can I have a wee tiny carton of almond milk as well for the flight?" And the person might not like it, but they will begrudgingly give me it. I'll offer to pay, but then they won't charge me for it. And that means I can have wee cups of tea on the plane and put in my almond milk. Everybody wins. Everyone's a winner, baby, that's no doubt. And then I get on the plane. Or maybe sometimes I go to the wee curries in the airport. Maybe I buy some sort of gadget. I've never done that. I bought headphones once in an airport. My wee Sony headphones that I like to wear, wee Bluetooth wireless ones. Don't know how that technology works, but I love it. Anyway, when I was at the Applegreen on my way down, I stopped to get diesel and a sandwich or something. And I was sort of not cutting it fine. As long as I got there relatively quickly, I was going to be alright. And I got out of my car and I closed the door. I filled it up with diesel, went in, paid, came back out. Door wasn't opening. Car was unlocked. I was hitting unlock. It wasn't opening. And I went round. I tried the door. It wouldn't open. I went round to the passenger side. Tried the door. Wasn't open. Back door. One side. Nope. Other side. Nope. Boot opened. Right. So the boot opened, but the Passat is like a long car. So it's not like you could just like get into the boot and then get through the back seat and open it. So I'm going, there must be a quick fix here. I didn't panic at all. I went on YouTube, which I always do to solve the problem, and I realised that because my keys were the wee blip blip, blip blip, you hit it and then do wee blip blip, and then blip blip to lock it. So I typed in my blip blip, isn't working. No, I just said like Passat, automatic doors not opening, automatic locking not opening. And it said, you actually have a wee key inside your wee blipper. And I didn't realise that. So you could open the thing and then a wee key pops out. And I went, oh, class, there's a hole for a key I've never seen before. You had to take a wee bit of the door handle off. I did that, put my key in, happy as Larry, turned it, not opening. Not opening. No windows open, no way of getting in. So I keep calm. I go online. I'm just outside Dundalk. So I phone a locksmith based in Dundalk. And I say, hello, I'm parked at the Applegreen. I can't get into my car. Is there any way you can come and help? And the woman goes, we wouldn't be able to get out for like another 4 hours. And in my head, I was going, how are you that busy? You're a locksmith and it's not 1927. She goes, there's another locksmith. I'll give you their number. Phoned him, no answer. At this point, starting to panic a bit, because if my car was parked in like one of the parking bays, I could go into Applegreen and say, I'm going to leave this car here for a week, but here's why. And then Mark Townsend would give me a tenner for my trip, 100%. But it was parked like right at the petrol pump, so I couldn't. I knew it would take so long to organise, like moving it and all that kind of. Well, there was no way to move it. So I'm starting to kind of panic a bit. And I open the boot and I think, is there a way for me to get through? Now, when I get into the boot, my body is the whole way in the boot, lengthways, not like sideways. So the boot, what I'm saying is the boot is so long, like unnecessarily long. And eventually I managed to hit a button and get the middle seat down. That's all I can do. You know, like not even the middle seat, sorry. You know the wee armrest? How fucked up is this? You know the armrest, like sometimes in a middle seat you can pop down? You could open that up. So I opened that up. By the way, I'm at a petrol pump beside the doors of an Applegreen. It looks like I've kidnapped myself. I managed to like get that open. And then I'm thinking, you know, is there some way I can... Because I'm like, I can't get through. I can't get my body through this gap. You know, because then I could have opened the door from the inside and it would have been sweet. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And I was really starting to panic. And then I took off my jumper and my coat and I was just in my t-shirt and I started to try and see if I could squeeze through this small gap. And I thought this was really weird. I was starting to sweat a bit. But then the sweat helped me. And I get like half of my body into the back of my car, and all I need to do is be able to reach the back seat door, open it, push it out. And that's all I need to be able to do. So I get in. I can't reach. I'm nowhere near it. Then I suddenly see that I have a coat hanger, a plastic coat hanger. Sorry if you think this story's boring. There's a plastic... I'm going to miss my flight also, by the way. There's a plastic coat hanger in my reach. I reach that. I hook that on the end of the metal end of the door handle. I pull it back. I then, fucking so weird, had like, you know, like a cane, like a plastic cane a wee pimp would have. I had that from some video for some reason. So I use my other, I hook the door handle. I pull it open. And it's open, but it needs pushed out. Use my other hand like Stephen Hendry, like a wee snooker player, Ronnie O'Sullivan. I just like used the snooker cue type thing to push the door out. Unreal. I genuinely, it's so difficult to squeeze back out this hole. That's what she said. Get out of the boot. Close the boot. Unbelievable. I then reach through the driver's seat. I reach through. I open that, I push that door out, I run around, I hold it for myself. I get in the car, drive Dublin Airport. Unreal. Then I make sure that, like, I know where I'm parking, all that. I'm like, right, I must make a note to when I get home, get the car fixed. I get out of the car at Dublin Airport. I'm in the furthest away airport car park. I open my car. I go round to the boot. I take my suitcase out. Yeah, isn't this it? I go round to the boot, I take my suitcase out, close the door, and realise that the whole thing's locked again. My keys won't work, and my passport is in the front of my car. There we go. Passport's in the front of my car. Done the whole thing again. And also, the coat hanger that I used is now not in the back seat. I put it in the boot. So I have to figure out some other way of... I can't remember what I used, but I managed to do the whole thing again. And that was a long story. But I think it's a metaphor for 2021. I think it's a metaphor for the past year. And I think the thing is, we just have to sometimes... Most of the time, like in most years, we just open the door. Blip, blip, we open it. This year, we're having to go through the boot. but it'll be worth it in the end. And it was a good trip. Okay, we'll take some questions here. Let's see what we got. Carl Cunningham said, I put these out last week, by the way, but I ended up doing a guest episode last week. Carl was looking for myths and stories of St. Patrick. Didn't we do a breakfast brew? I mean, oh, what a great salesman. I did a breakfast brew episode all about St. Patrick with me and producer Dan. And I'll just give you one fact that I like about St. Patrick, because Paddy Day was last week, and that is that St. Patrick's real name was UNSUCKABLE. Unbelievable. UNSUCKABLE. He should have kept that because it's way better than Patrick. Also, speaking of Paddy's Day, on Paddy's Day, our TV show was on BBC, and it's still on BBC iPlayer. Shane Todd's Rave Lockdown. Go and check it out. Me and Dave Elliott doing a TV version of the radio show. It went down great. I don't know if we'll get to do it again, but it was brilliant crack, and the feedback to it was like way better than we expected. And also, there's 2 episodes of the Rave Lockdown radio show left. We got 2 episodes left, so that's this Friday night, 6:30 on Radio Ulster. Shane Maguire, do you know anyone selling magic mushrooms? Asking for a friend. I don't know anybody selling magic mushrooms. I don't know a lot about magic mushrooms, really. Well, I mean, I get the idea, but yeah, I've never taken magic mushrooms. It's something I would be interested to do, but it would have to be in a very controlled environment, and I'd have to know I wouldn't die. And ultimately, if you couldn't guarantee me that, then I wouldn't do it, and you probably couldn't convince me of that. But people used to go up golf courses to get magic mushrooms. Again, I thought someone was going to murder me in my garden. So do I know anyone selling magic mushrooms? I don't. So tell your mate I'm sorry. Aaron McCann, not the comedy Aaron McCann, but just a different guy who is also called Aaron McCann, says, how do you come up with the jokes for Keith Cruz? By the way, you're a legend. Oh, right back at you. Other Aaron McCann. But it's like I call you other Aaron McCann, like you're just a different Aaron McCann. How do I come up with Keith Cruz? Just years of playing local amateur league football. You get to see and hear all these real life Keith Cruzes and hear people shout, he doesn't want it. You know, sometimes at me, and a lot of time I don't want it. So I just put that all together. But like the Mike McGoldrick thing, just living in Hollywood, being a dishwasher down at Cultural Yacht Club, you just observe people without knowing it, and then you put it into a character. Let's do another cruisy video soon. Christoire Ginley says, UFO. It's UFO week this week. Are you a believer of UFOs? If so, why? If not, why? I'm not a believer of UFOs. I don't believe that UFOs really exist, because I mean, it's easier to say you don't believe they exist than to say they do exist, because if you're like, it's easier to not prove it because we already not proven it, because you can't show me one in the flesh. And don't, like, if you're like an alien guy watching this and you're like, I can beam me up and I'll show you one, then I'll send you that. I don't want to do that. I don't think UFOs exist, but it is kind of fun, the idea of it. I wouldn't mind it. Like, I'm up for gigging anywhere. Like, once we can do stand up again, I would do a gig in a UFO. But there's that guy, is it Salazar, who was on Joe Rogan's podcast, who says he worked on a UFO or something. Area 52, is that what it is? I don't know. I don't believe UFOs are real. It's a bit like aliens in general. I don't think they would look like we think they do, because that's ultimately us that has come up with visual drawings and representations of what we think they would be. Who's to say they look like, if there really are aliens, they probably don't look like anything we can comprehend or we've ever seen before. Like, there might be some different colour we've never even seen, like a really bright turquoise or something. Well, no, we have seen that probably. I'm blowing my own mind here. I don't believe in like aliens or UFOs. Well, no. Jesus Christ. I don't think there are UFOs, but if there is other life forms, which there probably is somewhere, right? But they're not like, I don't think they're wee like big head green fellas going, take me to your dealer, you know, selling magic mushrooms, brah. I don't think there are. But They're definitely, well, not definitely, because I mean I wouldn't be a leading light on this, but there has to be life forms on other planets for sure. In the whole, I'm not qualified enough to talk about this, but if you want, I'll get a UFO expert on the podcast when we get into the studio and we can talk about that. That'd be a lot of fun because I just realised I think I do believe in aliens. Gareth Montgomery says, when I was in NRC, I had an assignment on how bad Battle of the Bone was. NRC sounds like a local rap group. I couldn't be bothered to come up with what I think it stands for, but yeah, you had an assignment on how bad Battle of the Bone was. Yeah, Battle of the Bone was a zombie kung fu horror film. I was in when I was about 18, and it was made locally, and it's kind of like a cult hit in that it's one of those ones where it's so bad that it's kind of good. People enjoy it. It's weird that you did an assignment on that, and if you are, I don't know if you're like a filmmaker yourself or in anything like that, but if you are, you know, I don't know if you've done anything as good as Battle of the Bone. Battle of the Bone was so bad, but there's worse stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, if anyone hasn't seen Battle of the Bone, it's me with a shaved head and some other guys beating up some zombies on the 12th of July, because that is the one thing that brings Protestants and Catholics together. And spoiler alert, but the last scene in it is me impaling the main zombie with a tricolour and a Union Jack. So, I mean, it's a pretty good film. Gareth, I would need to see some of your work, because unless you're like young Scorsese, you can't be bringing that heat. So I want you to send me one of your films, and I want to see if it's really good. And if it isn't, I think that's sly that you've done that assignment. Because some people love Battle of the Bone, like the guy who made it, the guy who directed it, he loved it. He thought it was really good. And a lot of people didn't. I didn't think it was good. But we did it. You know what I mean? It was class. It was done with as in the experience, kind of. I don't know, maybe it wasn't. It was done with a budget of 10 grand. And it was just very interesting to see the process of it. But at the time, you were like, oh yeah, bit of fun. Like a lot of the people that worked on it were very sound. Still be in touch with quite a lot of people from it, but yeah, it was one of those, like, it's worth a watch, probably for the wrong reasons. But, you know, at the time, being like, I don't know, 18, 19. Yeah, 18. When someone's like, hey, do you want to be in a film? You go, yeah. So Gareth, I'm keen to see your films from the NRC. Yeah, man, back in the day when I was in the NRC, me, Dappy from N-Dubs, and Craig David. You know, NRC sounds like you would support Lamar on tour, if you remember Lamar. He actually had some decent songs, remember 50-50? No, maybe a bit like Battle of the Bone. I was like, yeah, it was good, and then I've thought about it and it went, it wasn't. But you know what you could do? You gotta shoot me that assignment, because I would genuinely enjoy reading that over a cup of tea. Fair play. Thank you very much to everybody who's listened or watched the episode. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast if you want more content. We should be back in the studio, so in the next couple of weeks we could have some very sexy visual stuff. I don't know how to describe that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you later. Keep sipping tea.